Hang on. Let's go. Everything is looking fine. No, 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 no. How the heck? There. Now it's perfect. How you doing, guys? Starts. That one's on a delay. I don't change that one. It'll be up in now. Thank you for your heads up, though, as usual. You always check that for me. And I appreciate it. Now it's running. Alright, guys. Tier list time. I'm just ready to start. I don't know about y'all. I don't even know about y'all. Let's give everyone 30 more seconds to come, and then we jumping into it. You guys see? It says it's public. No, now it's definitely refresh. We're looking good. Let's start, guys. Got lots of coffee. Hello, Andre. All right, let's go. What's going on, everybody? This is Fry. So today we are doing a tier list of one of the strongest, if not the strongest class in PvZ Heroes. There's going to be a lot of S tier today. It is, of course, the solar class on the plant side. And I will be going through the cards, explaining a little bit about their uses briefly, and putting them on this tier list you can see over here.
Hi, YouTube, and my future
thank you for your 200 bits. Little Buddy is the first card that we are putting immediately into S tier. Now, this doesn't look like much. It's a zero cost team up, which means it's a very good card for Cob Cannon, which we're coming to, which is one of the best cards in the game. It's also a very good card, a very essential card for Pepper MD, which is going to be healing. The fact you can play something for 0, protect one of your plants. Like, this will basically, if there's a zombie that's a 3/3 and a plant that's a 3/3, they're going to trade this for 0 cost. We'll correct that trade and make sure that your guy will not die. Obviously, if they don't remove the Little Buddy. This is so versatile. It's useful with onion rings. It's useful with, again, obviously, Cob Cannon, Pepper MD. It's like auto include. It's a very, very good card. The little bit of healing also does make a difference in terms of slowing down aggressive zombie decks. You can play this in almost every solar deck, practically, even in an aggro solar deck. You can get away with running one of these just to, a couple of these maybe, not as a 4 of, but just to protect your Haunted Pumpkins and your other aggro cards. Very, very good, versatile card. We're putting in S tier. Again, I'm not rating the cards based on their power. You're not going to be finishing off anybody with Little Buddy. I'm going to be rating it in how much should you be looking to put this in your deck. You're building a solar deck. Should your mindset be include Little Buddy? And the answer is almost always absolute yes. See, I don't run it in aggro, but you could. In almost every other deck that's not aggro, you are running this. I'll try to remember to flip through the cards instead of canceling and going back in every single time. All right, now we have Bellflower, which is easy F tier. There's absolutely no reason to ever run this. It's outclassed. You have 1-cost flowers that have better stats than this. Nothing more to be said. Cosmos is an interesting card. This is not a card you... First of all, 1-cost 2/2 is pretty good stats. You need a good environment. This does actually happen when, let's say against Huge Giganticus, this is actually a very good card because when they play a lot of environments, and this will actually punish them by growing. Mostly you're going to be running this in a Chompzilla deck. Turn 1, Cosmos. Turn 2, Coffee Grounds. Coffee Grounds is Chompzilla, the Mega Grows 2-cost... environment that will give a guy double strike. You basically have a little Bananasaurus Rex on the field if you pull off that combo. We have had limited success. You're really not looking to run Cosmos in a lot of decks. I'm going to put it in C tier because it is, again, a decent card, has its uses, but it's not overly useful. Haunted Pumpkin is a very good card. I've actually lowered my, and you guys are not going to like where I actually put this on the tier list. As I was playing in the tournament, my opinion of Haunted Pumpkin has actually gone down because, again, if you're dominating opponent, this is a good card. It's way overstated. It does conjure your opponent a card. So in a game where you're able to just completely out-aggression your opponent, Haunted Pumpkin is very good. It's one of the best cards in the game if they don't have answers. If they do have answers, or in the late game, this is actually like the worst card in the game because this loses a trade to everything. If they have a bungee, they have a summoning, they have the little bats from the Morticia, they have infinity clones, anything that is able to answer this card will win the trade because you're not conjuring a card for yourself, you're conjuring one for your opponents. And again, as I was playing and testing for the tournament, a lot of people are running Haunted Pumpkin. This was actually like the most game-losing card, especially late in games because it just gives your opponent card advantage, which is an underrated part of this game. Nonetheless, I'm going to put it in A tier. It's still a very strong part of aggro decks. I really don't know if this is like a counter to Con Man. Puts a 4-1 on the field. The crazy class usually good at dealing with 1 damage. This is more just to be able to go face. You want to go face for 4 damage and overwhelm your opponent. I'm almost putting this in low A tier, and again, I can't really explain that in words. It's just from my experience. I mean, I guess the real explanation is that if this loses the trade, it loses. If this even trades with something, it loses the trade automatically. Colonel Pulse is an underrated card. It's very good at dealing with small must-answer threats. On the zombie side, particularly Zombology Teacher, which is a 1-cost 2-1 that needs to be removed immediately before they start playing all their entire deck for free, tricks and going virals and healthy trait. It's also very good against Paparazzi. It's also just very good at, again, it is a cheap team-up, so it can be played anywhere in the field in order to correct a trade. Obviously, it's a good base for Cob Cannons. We do run this. We run this as part of one of the best decks in the game, which is Mid-Rose. And you play this with Rescue Radish, can scoop it back up and replay this on the field. It's just an overall very good, versatile card. It's way better than it looks. We're going to be putting Colonel Pulse in A tier. Next, we're going to do Morning Glory. It's not super useful. It's kind of nice you have a 1-cost 3/3. It's not a bad late game card. It's also not like usually in the late game you kind of want something that's going to do more than 3/3 because card advantage starts really becoming important. This has niche uses. The times I have used this, I've been pretty happy with it, but again, it's very niche. We'll put in C tier with the Cosmos. Primal Sunflower is a very good card. It's a step up overall from regular Sunflower. It's a cheap ramp. It's a 1-cost 2-1, so it's going to answer very important 1-cost cards like, you know, Cheese Cutter and, I don't know, Buried Treasure, if you want to remove that. Usually you'll actually just go face with this if they play Buried Treasure, because the ramp is very good. Being able to play 3 Sun on turn 2 is great. This is a card that the zombies actually must remove. You can really run this in a lot of decks, and there's a lot of ramp. Even in aggro, you can even run this as a 2-1 that just lets you play more aggro the next turn. It's either high B or low A. I'm going to put this in A because this actually is a very good card. Sunflower, you're almost always going to end up running Primal Sunflower over Sunflower. There's 2 exceptions. One is if you really need an extra team up for some reason, like for your Cob Cannon. The other is if you're specifically running the 1 card in the Solar class, which is Mixed Nuts. We have had a lot of success running Sunflower and run 1, and then you can play a 3-cost 4/4 you can play on turn 2. Obviously, that only works with Sunflower. Does not work with Primal Sunflower, but in 90% of decks, Sunflower is completely outclassed. It does have niche uses, and we'll put it in C tier for that reason. Next time is Apple Saucer. This is a very good card. A 2-cost 3/2 is not bad stats for a 2-cost card. This is aggression. This is a card that you're going to include this in any Solar aggro deck for sure. And the fact that it becomes strike through, 3 damage is significant. They got to deal with this. And for only a 2-cost card, great value. And the fact that in the late game it becomes strike through, it's almost just like a little mini cheap, like Power Flower, Bloomerang, which are decent cards in themselves. And this is just a cheaper version. This is a very versatile card. We're putting in A tier. Next is going to be Eye Spore. So this is a card I underuse. I think whenever I see opponents play this, it's always getting insane value. The problem with Eye Spore is that it can't remove a card that you have a plant in already unless that plant has team up, because you obviously this needs to be played in the lane to remove something. On the other hand, it is a 2-cost card that trades up. You can remove a 9-cost card using a 2-cost card as long as you have something else to play on top of that turn. I'm not really sure where to play this. I'm going to conservatively put this in B tier, but it could be this is actually one of the premier cards in the game, and I think Eye Spore is definitely something I need to experiment running in more decks because it's just so much value. It probably is better than I'm giving it credit. I'm just going to go with my experience and put it in B tier. Fume Shroom is interesting as a strike-through card for 2 cost. I have, 2 damage strike-through is not great. 3 is like, the difference between 2 damage and 3 damage in this game is insane. Not only in terms of what it can kill on the zombie side, in terms of 2 and 3 health, but just where if you're doing ping your opponent for 2, you're just giving them block meter charge. It's okay, but you want to be doing 3 at least if you're actually trying to do significant damage to their face, because of the block. Every single time you hit them, it charges their block meter. So Fume Shroom is, I've tried decks where I buff this, with Chompzilla and the Mega Grow class in order to make a bigger one. It's usually never worth it to invest 2 cards into 1 in this game, because hard removal, like Rocket Science and Fruitcake and all this stuff is just so efficient at removing these. There's almost never a time to run Fume Shroom. I'm going to put it in D tier because I don't think it's a very good card, even in aggressive decks. Just 2 cost 2/1 is just so sad. Too easy to remove, not enough damage. Pepper MD might be the card I have changed my opinion the most about in the history of PvZ Heroes. My good friend Saman PvZ, and if you want to see some cool mods and PvZ1 content, check out Saman PvZ on YouTube. There's a shout out. But he's really redefined the entire meta with discovering how great Pepper MD is. The key, of course, to Pepper MD is to always be running it with 4 little buddies. Wait till your opponent hits you, and then Pepper MD little buddy. This becomes a 4/4, which can be happening on turn 2, and every single time you heal, it's going to grow. It'll also heal insane stats if you're running it in tandem with Allosaurus, which is not even necessary, but if your Allosaurus is healing everything on the board for 1, and you have a couple damaged plants, all of a sudden in these Pepper MD, this is a 2-cost card that consistently, when I'm doing a stream of 8 to 10 games, this will become like a 10/10 consistently. This is an absolute ridiculous card. It's one of the best cards in the game. Again, all you really need for Pepper MD to be good is 4 little buddies and 4 catch-it mechanics. And if you have any other heal cards, you don't even need Taco. If you have Allosaurus, it's fine. And if you're either Wall Knight or Chompzilla that has Geyser, it also is direct synergy, because that will heal your entire board for 4. This is absolutely one of the best cards in the entire game, and it's easily putting that in S tier. Next is Sage. I haven't found the use for this yet. It's cute. It's leafy. It draws a card on turn 6. Like, this should just be 2 cost 2/1 draw a card. I don't know why they didn't make that. Why do you have to be making 6? Would this be too good? 2 cost 2/1 draw a card. Give the plants a way to cycle their deck. Anyway, in the meantime, I mean, it's either low D or high F tier. I don't know, man. I'll benefit of the debt. I mean, this is in the lane. I'll put it in F tier. You know what? I hope that someday I will stand corrected on this and that it'll actually be useful in C tier. In the meantime, never run Sage. Sun Shroom is, it's interesting, the difference between Sun Shroom and Sun Ear Shroom coming up. This is not a very good card because it's a 2-cost card that only ramps for 1. Now, it does turn the next turn into a 3-cost card that will give you for 2, but ramp needs to be a good investment the first turn it survives. Ramp cards don't survive well. This is a 0/2. It dies to everything on turn 2. At least like Twin Sunflower, which is coming up next, you need to be able, if you're going that high risk, you need to be this high reward. The chances of a ramp card, these little cards, surviving for 2 turns is so unlikely. So the fact this turns into Sunny or Shroom the next turn, it's too high risk and too low reward. So Sun Shroom, again, every once in a while, again, it turns into the more health. If they don't have an answer, it can sort of be good. But in the meantime, I'm putting this in D tier because it's not very good. Twin Sunflower, on the other hand, this is the best ramp card in the game. In my opinion, for 2 costs, giving you 2 sun. That means on turn 3, you can play a 5-drop, especially in the solar class, as you will see as we get down this list here. The 5 drops in the solar class are insane, and all over the game, 5 drops are really, really good. If you can get a 5-drop on turn 3, it's gonna put you in such a strong advantage in the game. And again, even if they remove that 5-drop efficiently, all of a sudden your Twin Sunflower now is bringing you on turn 4 to 6 sun. Very, very good card. The key to this is always to play it patiently. Don't force this in on turn 2 against opponents that are brainy and can run Beam Me Up or have Summoning or Bats or Neptuna Super in their superpower. You gotta mostly try to play this to punish a Teleportation Zombie on turn 2, a Swashbuckler on turn 2. Play this patiently. You can always wait till turn 3 and ramp up to turn 6. Don't waste your Twin Sunflower and just feed it to an opponent, teleporting in a minion. In the meantime, I mean, Twin Sunflower, it's either low S tier or high A tier, man. This is such a good card. I'm going to put it in S tier because this is a card you can run a couple, even in a non-ramp deck. As long as you're running enough fight, make sure you have at least 8 cards that cost 5 if you're running Twin Sunflower, because having this and not having a 5-drop, it makes the card completely useless. So make sure you're running enough. But even in a deck with Solar that's running all the OP 5-drops that you have in the Solar class, this is really useful to even run like 2 copies of in basically any deck. So we are going to be putting that in S tier. I guess not aggro, but that's basically it. Water Balloons is trash. 2 cost 1/1 removal. I mean, just at that point, just run Kernel Pull. Like, it also gives you a minion on the field. Oh, when you make 6 Sun, now it does 2/2. That's not even that good. I mean, it's just like worse Extinction Event. F tier, never run Water Balloons. Next, we got second best tackle of all time. This is a niche card. It's okay. I'm going to put this... I don't have this in the right spot on the list here, but I'm going to be putting this in, like, C tier. Now, I typically don't even run this in heal decks because it doesn't really develop anything on your board. It can be good if you're sort of stalling for the late game. This is also a very important card if you're running Heartachoke, which isn't a great card. We'll get to Heartachoke a little bit later. It's a a nice cheap way of healing for 4. It's actually, this in terms of heals is niche. It could be, again, I'm undervaluing this, but very often, especially if they're playing aggro, you want to have catch a mechanic. You don't want to have second best tackle of all time. You can run both in a deck. Who knows? Cosmic Flower is not a great card because it's a 3 cost 2/1. It's like a worse Fume Shroom that does, it draws a card, but this is very unreliable. Again, if they got rid of all the cards, all the useless little flowers in the game, like Bellflower, it can give you strike through Little Buddy. Great. You know what I mean? Like, the fact you're getting a flower that has strike through, all the flowers in this game are mostly, like, all strike through or trash. So the fact of giving it strike through, it's not a great ability, very unreliable in terms of the card draw. I haven't really found a use for a Cosmic Flower. Yeah. All right, put in D. Jack-O-Lantern, it's an interesting card. Sometimes in an aggro deck, if you really need a 3-drop, like for Chumpzilla, it doesn't have a great 3, so you'll run Jack-O-Lantern. It can grow. I really do want to experiment with this card a little bit more, maybe doing it more with Walnut and having walnuts in front of it and making it like a powerful strike-through threat that is sort of like protected either by walnuts or by photosynthesizer. Now that I'm thinking the Guardian class could work. In the meantime, I'm going to put Jack-O-Lantern as a placeholder in C tier because it's very niche, but I hope we can actually unlock the potential of this. The fact that it's growing a lot. Maybe there really is something to this card that I don't know, but that's as far as I know. Catch a Mechanic is one of the best cards in the entire game, even not in heal decks. You could run this in any deck. You could have no other heal cards, no Pepper MD. You're just trying to play mid Solar. You could even run this in aggro because of how much stats. If they have 2 zombies on the field, this is 3 cost 3/3 heal for 2. If they have 3, all of a sudden this just explodes as a 3 cost 4/4, which is busted stats. Besides for the healing, so it's good in stats, good in healing. It's a absolute necessity against the crazy class that spams a lot of minions and does a lot of damage. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sanich. And yeah, man, we are going to be putting this in S tier. It's you can run this in any deck, even aggro. I wouldn't run this in aggro, but even aggro, it would still make sense because of how much value it is. Magnifying Grass is a weird card. We run this. One of my favorite decks historically we've done over the last couple of years is a Chumpzilla with Magnifying Grass and Espresso Fiesta. I don't even remember the name of that deck, but you can look it through my Fry 'em Up Chumpzilla to find that deck. So the meme, of course, is to play this with Espresso on turn 11, in which case this will be doing 12 times, it will be doing a 36 damage combo. This is much better with Plant Food. You're basically only running Magnifying Grass with Chumpzilla. Even like this on turn 7 with Plant Food is like an 8 damage burst, which is almost half of the opponent's health. Because it's not useful in a ton of decks, but it every once in a while, at 1 health, it's really not much of an aggro card. Like playing this as a 3 cost 3/1, 4 cost 4/1, that's not a good deal. But it's pretty good with Chumpzilla. I'll put it in C tier because it's pretty niche. Next, these are all out of order. Next, we got Mixed Nuts. Mixed Nuts is a decent card. I actually like Mixed Nuts. Now, you really do need to be running a lot of team-ups. So in sort of like ramp package that you're actually running Sunflower, it's pretty good. And then you also maybe have a Twin Sunflower, and you also have maybe Little Buddy or Corn. Obviously, without the team up, it's a 3 cost 2/2. This does tend to brick, but we have had a lot of fun with Mixed Nuts. It's niche. I'll put it in C. It's about the same level as the C tier cards. Next, we got Solar Wind. So here's an environment that obviously got nerfed since it was created. It used to be a 2 cost, now it's 3 costs. It's very hard to find a good use of this at 3. It's really sort of outclassed by other ramp options. It's making Sunflowers every turn. Like Twin Sunflower, or even like Sunnier Shroom, which is going to be the 3 cost card, is actually a much better option than Solar Winds. This can be easily countered by any zombie environment. Zombie environments cost 1. Again, it's insane that the zombies have last say on environments, and they also have the 1 cost environments. Complete oversight in the creation of environments. But this is very niche. I'll put it in C tier with the rest of these cards, because every once in a while this can be good. If they not able to clog the Solar Winds or answer it with, you can answer this just by teleporting. Beam me up, answer Solar Winds, teleporting any minion and answer Solar Winds. Smoke Bomb answers Solar Winds. But anyway, if they're not actually able to cover this can sometimes be generating Sunflowers for a long time. You can play minions behind the first Sunflower, and then, you win that trade, and then it makes another Sunflower. So this can be good. It's very niche, though, these days in C tier. Sunflower Seed used to actually have 3 attack. Now it has a 3 cost 2/2. It's very sad stats. It's very cool. It's a sticky minion that when it dies, makes a Sunflower here. When this had 3 attack, it was good because it could actually remove a significant threat on turn 3 and then profit by making the Sunflower. On turn 3 now, Sunflower Seed at a 2/2 really doesn't do anything. You're not going to be removing anything on turn 3 with this. It's basically just a really slow Sunflower. It's a very sad card. We're putting it in D tier. Next is Sunnier Shroom. This is a underrated card now. It seems like a direct step down from Twin Sunflower. Twin Sunflower is the same thing, except it costs 2. It costs 1 less, which is huge, and just only has 1 fewer health. I guess the only difference is Twin Sunflower is a flower, and this is a mushroom. We had one deck where we played this with Gloom Shroom. Don't try that. This is just a ramp package card. This will ramp you from turn 3, that on turn 4 you can play a 6-drop, like Cob Cannon or whatever else, Brainana, whatever else you're running in your deck. The reason this is underrated is because the difference between this and Twin Sunflower, the difference between 2 and 3 health in this game is huge. Just because the difference between being able to deal 2 damage and 3 damage is like, Bungee Plumber costs 1, and Wrath, the crazy same card, does the exact same thing. That does 3 damage, all of a sudden costs 3. This is a very actual difficult card to remove on turn 3. I would venture to say that it's easier to deal with Twin Sunflower on turn 2 than it is to deal with Sunny or Shroom on turn 3. Because think of all the cards that kills Twin Sunflower, like Beam Me Up, like Bungee Plumber. And all the I don't know, even Smoke Bombing in a small minion. But Sunny or Shroom, to deal 3 damage on turn 3, no one runs Wrath. You basically need a Rolling Stone, which deals with these 2 cards equally. Except that you've invested 3 Sun into Sunny or Shroom. Anyway, if you want to see Sunny or Shroom in action, check out any of my ramp package decks. It's a very important part of it, in tandem with Twin Sunflower, of course. It's a very good card. It's not going to be an S tier, because, again, it's not like you can just stick a couple of these in any deck like Twin Sunflower. Twin Sunflower is the better card. This is going in, I'd say because this has to be in a ramp package deck, I'll put it in B. Again, if you're just thinking about when you're building a solar deck, what percentage of them are going to be running Sunny or Shroom? There's going to be just one type, which is ramp package. So we'll put it in B tier for that reason. It's a high B or low A. Venus Flytrap. I didn't even show you guys this deck, but I was trying to make a Venus Flytrap with Chumzilla where you grow it. And then you have Heartichoke, so you're healing. I tried it offline and it did not work. I didn't even want to try it on stream because it was a trainer. Venus Flytrap is the 3 cost 2/2. The little bit of healing does not justify running it ever. It's a 3 cost 2/2. It's so bad. It's one of the worst cards in the game. Putting an F tier, never run Venus Fly. I know you have Pepper MD and you can't afford Catch Mechanics. Still don't run Venus Flytrap. Okay, maybe then you would. Whack-a-Zombie. Whack-a-Zombie is a pretty decent card. Cowboy is a very strong card on the side, and this is the first card that comes to mind that Whack-a-Zombie hard answers, unless it's played in a graveyard, of course. Whack-a-Zombie really does answer almost anything the zombies are playing on turn 3. It's very few cards that have 4 attack. So this can be used, again, not only as a control card on turn 3, but this can get value later in the game. There are going to be a lot of cards that end up with 3 attack. They have a Tomb Raiser on the field that you need an answer to. I mean, this will just smack it. This can get a lot of value. This is just a decent card. I'll put it in B tier. You're not going to be running this in a ton of decks, but it is good value. And you can throw 2 of these into any deck, and you're going to be able to get value for these. We'll put it in B. I'm glad we're finding some cards to put in B. It's like the strong niche cards. Bloomerang. Bloomerang you're only going to run this in like a budget aggro deck. Even in like a expensive aggro deck, there's usually going to be a better option than a 4-cost 3/3 strike through. And nonetheless, this is underrated. This is a decent card. It does a significant amount of damage at 3 attack, and it has a significant amount of health at 3, and it is aggressive because of its strike through ability. It is a little understated. I feel like this could have been a 3/4, and this would actually be a lot better. I'll put it in C tier because it's an okay card again in like budget, aggro, solar, flare, solar, anything. Chomper, man, where am I going to put this? This card is a pain in the ass. Like, this is just... It's really hard to know where to put this because this is not a good card. It's a 4-cost 2/2. It's basically just a worse Hammer, because Hammer is 3 cost and it can hit the water lane. It can hit a lane that you have a plant in already. This needs the lane to be open, and it can't hit the amphibious lane. On the other hand, Chomper, I don't know. Opponents kill me with Chompers all the time. It just doesn't do enough, but it's still kind of good. I'm putting in C tier. I don't really know where to put this. It's not good now. I'm putting it in D. It's just a worse Hammer. There, it's in high D tier. Elderberry is a great card. Elderberry, it does cost a card to put it on top, but there's usually going to be a lot of options like your Little Buddies and your Primal Sunflowers and your, Kernel Pulse. There's usually going to be an option. Obviously, in Aggro Solar Flare, we put this on top of Poison Ivy. 3 cost, 5 damage. It gets fronted. It loses all of its attack. You stick Elderberry on top and you can do another 5 damage. Elderberry is a good card. It has very high stats when you upgrade it. 5/4 strike through. At 4, the key is this cost 4. Like, you have 5 damage strike through that cost 5, but the fact this costs 4, this is a very good card. Because of how efficient removal is, like Rocket Science and Fruitcake and things like that, it very often will end up being a 2-for-1. I guess Fruitcake sort of makes it a 1-for-1 because you're gaining a card, but you're also killing something on the field, so... this sort of loses the trade to Fruitcake that costs 2. Because efficient removal is efficient, this card becomes a lot worse. It's still very good. How many decks you're going to run this in aggro. You could run this in ramp too. You can run this in a lot of decks. I'll put it in A tier. Some of you guys will probably think that it's S tier, but I think this is really more A in terms of how much you run it. I usually like just running heavy cards that don't need a lot of assistance, or if they need a lot of... Like, this competes with your Little Buddies and your Kernel Pulse for Cob Cannon, which you're probably going to be running Cob Cannon in every solar deck. And this you're going to, except for maybe aggro, and then this you're going to be running too. It's going to be competing for the resources. But again, I'm putting it in A tier. It's a very, very good card. Artichoke is not a great card, actually. I think the reason why it took me so long to realize how good heal decks were is because I was running Artichoke in them. That Artichoke needs to be played in order to really get value in tandem with one of 2 cards. One is going to be, of course, Venus Flytrap Planet. Artichoke says it heals whenever it does damage. This card says it does...
1 year of subs. Here's many more.
I'm mixing it up. Artichoke says when you heal, I will do damage. This card says when you do damage, I will heal. And of course, it makes a loop. This loop is very unreliable. You need yourself to be missing a lot of health for this loop to happen. You also need a 4-cost 3/4 to survive for an entire turn, plus a 4-cost environment, which a 4-cost environment survive very, very hard to really pull off Venus Flytrap Planet. The other card, of course, you can use Artichoke with is like you play this on the field on turn 7, and then on turn 8, you play Astrovero, which heals your face for 10 and does damage for 10. I mean, maybe I should be trying decks that really just run these in tandem, but maybe with Walnut. You can play Artichoke and like maybe give it Photosynthesizer so it doesn't die on turn 7. Maybe this is really the real use. I need to forget about this environment. I'll maybe try that as a deck at some point. I think Heartachoke is, again, the reason, though, that I haven't really been doing it. I didn't really understand how good heal decks were because I was trying to force Heartachoke and Venus Flytrap Planet into them, and I'm going to put this in C tier because I think it does have niche. Again, every once in a while, this does explode and take over games, but I think in general, even in heal decks, you should not be running Heartachoke generally, but it does have its uses. Again, very high risk, high reward card. So put in C. Next is Lawnmower. This is a decent card. It's a hard removal card only in 3 lanes. You know, I don't run this a lot, but when I see opponents run it, it's devastating. This does get a lot of value. I usually just run this in troll decks. I wouldn't say try to run this in a ton of decks. I'll put it in C tier, but it is a niche, pretty decent at 4 cost removal card. It's obviously a huge step down from Squash that can hit all 5 lanes, which costs 1 more. So is it worth it? Is it worth it is the question for 1 fewer cost. For me, it's not, but it gets a lot of value. Metal Petal Sunflower. The only deck you're ever really going to run this in is not even Ramp Package. Ramp Package is 2 Twin Sunflowers, 2 Sunnier Shrooms, and maybe 2 Primal Sunflowers. This you're going to be running in 1 deck, which is all out Ramp, which means you're just trying to get to turn 8 and play your Dragon as soon as possible, or your Great Zucchini or your Cornucopia. It does work well in this deck. This is actually a decent statted card if you can play to turn early. So again, what are you ramping? You play Twin Sunflower on turn 2. Yeah, 5. You don't really want to be playing a 4-drop at that point, but maybe you can play your Primal Sunflower on turn 2 and then ramp up to this on turn, 3. You can play this. Playing this early is good. 3 costs 3/4, and it'll just continue the ramp and keep that going. It's good in 1 deck. I don't really know where else Metal Petal Sunflower. Hey, Metal Petal is actually like silver in this game. That's interesting. If you know, you know. We're gonna be putting this in. It's very niche. It's very niche, but it's good. I'll put it in a low C tier, high D tier. We'll put it in a low C tier. Next is Sunstrikes. Sunstrike's a decent card. I mean, it's a finisher. It's a clear step down from Plant Food, but obviously Plant Food you can only run in with Chompzilla if you're running the Solar class. This will give all your guys Sunstrike, but they can still get removed by zombie tricks, and removal is very efficient. The fact removal is efficient is the reason Sunstrike is the worst card. It also conjures you a trick, so it doesn't cost you anything. This is an okay, sort of very powerful niche finisher. You can really run a couple. I could probably run. I don't run this in decks that I'm like Ramp Package, because you want really all of your cards that cost 4 or more to be, impactful by themselves. Maybe I should be running a couple of these in Ramp Package. I think this is a niche card that's very powerful, and it really does fit for that reason in the B tier. We have had success with Sunstrike, especially in decks that you grow your Pepper MDs like crazy and you're running like Allosaurus and stuff. Okay, so Venus Flytrap Planet, this is really the culprit of why it took so many years. Really, I never discovered how good heal was until I was told to just stop running Venus Flytrap Planet Heartachoke. 4 cost environments on the plant side suck. They just suck because they are removed so easily by Black Hole and Graveyard and Trapper Territory, and all the little 1 cost or even a 2 cost environment just obliterates this. It's so hard. And not only that, but when you play this, it doesn't get value when played. Like, if this would just automatically also heal, right when you play it, heal yourself for 4, that would actually make this maybe a decent card. Besides for, on top of its current ability. But the fact that this usually does nothing, and the guy in it has to survive. This was actually nerfed. They used to not have that condition. They used to not say the and survive. But the fact the card in this now needs to survive, man, this is like, it's automatically countered by every environment in the game on the zombie side, and, lose the trade badly. And for this to do anything, it needs to survive, have a guy in it that does damage and survives, man. I think this is the problem with heal. This is the problem with the world today. I'm putting in D tier. Yes, we got Wingnut. This is a decent card. The reason is because, first of all, it's really overly statted. 4 cost 3/7 is good. It doesn't even die to like rocket science or anything like that. This will hard counter, obviously, decks that, really rely on single bonus attacks like, Valk and Trickster and stuff like that. But really, most zombie decks are relying on some kind of bonus attack in order to win. Because the Brainy class obviously relies on bonus attacks. The Hardy and Beastly class rely very much on like Frenzy, like going viral, and just like Supernova Guard, like Frenzy of Area 22. Like, these are some of the premier finishers on the zombie class do involve, again, this does prevent Frenzy from doing an extra bonus attack. So you can actually run a couple of these in any deck. I've really started to use this less over the years, but I probably shouldn't. This is a very, very good card. It's either going in high B or low A. I'm going to put this in A because, honestly, if you run a couple of these in any deck, I used to run this in Aggro Solar Flare and it was fine. Just to like, stats. It has a ton of health, so it takes a lot of resources for them to remove. It's doing decent damage. 3 is decent. And it just like hard counters basically everything the zombies are trying to do. This is a very, very good card. It is a P and a nut, which we've tried to make synergy with that. Very unlikely, you can play a Gatling P on top of this or buff this with Pod Fighter, but it's a 4-cost 3/7 that, answers zombie finishers. Very, very good card. I'm putting it A tier. Next is Allosaurus. This again was quietly until Sayman, besides for the fact Pepper MD is good. This is good even in non-Pepper MD decks. It's good, obviously, with Twin Sunflower. Twin Sunflower on 2, Allosaurus on 3 is devastating. If they don't have an answer to this card, you win. It gets so much value, not only from being big statted card, also healing your face, but just keeping your minions alive. It will drive opponent, even, again, it's obviously buffing Pepper MD to a 10/10, like, automatically, but even without that, just keeping your cards not damaged and giving them health, besides for not being able to evaporate, it just makes Bungee Plumbers and just makes your opponent's zombies that are doing damage so much less efficient because your cards are just gaining health. The fact is, Dino Roar means anytime you conjure something or draw a card or draw a superpower or play, half the superpowers in the game that do draw you cards, this will just keep on healing your face to keep the game alive, and also healing your board and itself. I mean, it's just, if they don't have a Fruitcake or Rocket Science, it's just devastating. This is really one of the best cards in the game, and I'm putting it in S tier. Thank you to, again, this was really during the tournament that we started really discovering how great, me and my buddy Seaman, discovering how much value Allosaurus is. Again, it can be killed by a 2 or 3 cost removal card, but if it's not, and this is usually being run in tandem with a bunch of other expensive cards, so they're not going to have that many, they're not going to have 6 big removal cards in your deck. If this doesn't get answered, it just takes over a game. We're putting in S tier. Astricado. Astricado is an extremely good card. 5 cost 5/3 strike through. Even with just this stats, this would still be really good. It's such a valuable finisher. I really like 5 cost 5/3 that doesn't cost another card to play it on. It's easier to play at 1 more cost and 1 fewer health than Elderberry. But the fact that when this dies, it gives you Astricado Pit. This card is busted. It's really good that this is not an actual card in the game. 1 cost 0/1, start of turn, make a 5/3 that can make another Astricado Pit. It's like a card that if it's a big card, it must answer. This will finish off game. 5 damage is like, this removes half their health in 2 shots. And then when it's removed, it gives you a card that they have to play on Astricado Pit every single turn for the rest of the game. The cool thing is if you're a Rose, you automatically have a free Astricado on turn 7. You just play Astricado Pit, Brainana. As long as you have an empty lane for the Astricado Pit to settle in, you just got a 1 cost 5/3 that will make another Astricado Pit. I love doing this combo. This also works very well with Allosaurus because when this dies, gaining the Astricado Pit does trigger your Dino Roars, which then creates a heal, which is just creating more value. This is such a good card. I'm putting it in S tier. This is a good card also. You can run it in ramp. You can run it in mid-range where you're not ramping. You're just kind of controlling for a few turns like mid-rows. And there's really no ramp in that deck. You can run this in aggro as a finisher. This is one of the most versatile cards in the entire game to play, even more than Allosaurus. This probably should just be in God tier because what deck will not run Astricado? There's going to be one more card coming up that's almost just as versatile. We'll get the Cobb Cannon in just a second. Briar Rose. So Briar Rose is a card that got nerfed heavily. It was 4 cost 2/4, 4 cost 3/4. Originally, I think this came into the game as a 6 cost. They buffed it hugely to a 4 cost and was busted. At 4 costs, this was the best card in the game. It was the fact that whenever anything hurts any flower on the board, so even like your little buddies, your Twin Sunflower, Soul Patch, Solar Winds at that point also did cost 2. So one nerf of this card is the fact that Solar Winds is more expensive, which was a very good combo with Briar Rose because the guy in the Solar Winds would hit the Sunflower, die, and then you'll just create another Sunflower. Briar Rose at 5 cost is still a decent card. It's very much, the reason it doesn't see a lot of play is because it is outclassed by Allosaurus and by Astrocado, 2 solar cards which are the same cost as Briar Rose, and they are better. On the other hand, though, Briar Rose is a good card. If you're running a bunch of flowers, you don't even have to run that many flowers to get value. This automatically trades with anything. Like, you can place this just in front of a Supernova Guard, and at least case scenario, you have an even trade. Usually, if you have a little buddy in your hand, all of a sudden, this can just kill their entire life for free. Not every zombie deck, again, is going to have an answer to 3-4. Rocket Science doesn't hit it. They need basically a fruitcake or a final mission to kill this. It is good. It is niche. I'll put it in B tier with all the other very strong, very niche, sort of niche cards. But you can throw a couple of Briar Roses in a lot of that. I probably do underuse this card because I like these two better. But you could probably, if you have Briar Rose and you don't have Astrocado, Allosaurus, and just a Twin Sunflower on 2, Briar Rose on 3, I mean, come on. It's so good. Power Flower is a weak card, but it is good. And I run this in like budget aggro solar flare. It kind of does a lot. 5 cost 3/5 is not great stats, but it has strike through, so it's significant damage, significant health. It gives you a little bit of healing every turn. Not really a great thing to run in tandem with like Heal Dex and Pepper MD, because it's kind of slow. It only just heals your hero. If this healed everything on the board for one, that would actually probably become very good with Pepper MD. It's a niche card. You basically run it in budget aggro solar flare. I'll put it together with Bloomerang. Down in C tier. Squash is interesting. It doesn't see a lot of play, and the reason is because it's completely outclassed by Cob Cannon. If you want a big guy that removes stuff, run Cob Cannon that gives you a 6/6 and costs only 1 more instead of Squash. Squash we're basically only using in control decks. Again, for budget players, running a couple of these as removal, since you don't have 4 Cob Cannons, I would say this is a pretty decent card. Even running a couple of these can sometimes answer, you don't need a team up on the board in order to activate it. This can hit the water lane just easily. It can kill cards that, like Mechasaur, can die to this. And, if you happen to face a Mondo Bronto in the water lane, mostly using this in Troll, though. It's not great. I'll put it in C tier. It's very niche. I'm putting like the good budget cards. I'm putting like all the good budget cards in C tier. That's like what C tier is for. Look at all these budget cards in here. Okay, maybe not Taco. Cob Cannon. Cob Cannon is a very good candidate for the absolute best card in the game. I mean, this card is broken. I don't know if this came into the game at 7 cost, but this definitely should cost 7 at least. So it does have a pretty strong condition. First of all, just 6 cost 6/6, and the passive that doesn't need any conditions of getting 1/1. This can sometimes just destroy, just field clear 2 or 3 minions just on play. And the fact that it automatically, it's a hard removal card. This takes the place of hard removal in every solar deck. You don't have to run any other squashes or anything because you just have Cob Cannon. So the fact that it does need a team up, though, but there are a lot of extremely good team ups, everything. I mean, just look at the top 2 tiers here. You have, Little Buddy, Twin Sunflower, and Colonel Pult. These will be the most common team ups that you're running in tandem. Even like playing this on turn 4 on top of a Sun Earshroom can sometimes be a very good value play. It's also putting a 6/6 on the board. I mean, this is so strong. This is seriously in God tier. You can run Cob Cannon in every deck. Ramp, mid-range, even aggro. If you want to run this in aggro as a finisher, man, go for it. Run Little Buddy to protect your Haunted Pumpkin and run Cob Cannon as a finisher. That might be better than my version of aggro solar flare, literally. Here we've got Laser Beam. So it's outclassed by all the other, again, it's a strong strike through card. It's completely outclassed by Astrocado. The 1 more cost does not justify 4 more health. If Astrocado was a 5/2, which it should be, cute Adigy, $5. Adigy's OG. The Astrocado is much better card. Again, that 1 extra health does not make up for the 4 health. This already has a significant amount. At 3 health, this should have 2. This would actually make Laser Beam maybe see some play. But the fact that it also does not give you Astrocado Pit when it dies, it also at 6 cost, man. I mean, you're always going to be running Cob Cannon, so it's hard to find room for Laser Beam. The times we've run this, it has been okay. It does a lot of damage and has a lot of health. This is probably a better card than I give it credit, but it's very, very niche. It's very expensive for what it does, and there's usually better options. I'll put it in niche and C tier. It could be it really does It could be this card is actually better than I give it credit. 5/7. I don't know. It's so sad to run this instead of Astro. I guess you can run both. Run Astrocado and Cobb Cannon and Allosaurus. Maybe that's good. Smashing Pumpkin is one of the worst cards in the game. It's just a 6 cost 6/5. I mean, it's just outclassed by everything. Compare this to Cobb Cannon, man. I mean, this was one of these budget cards that was put, you know, it's a basic common. They give it to you for free, so obviously it sucks. Never run Smashing Pumpkin ever. It doesn't have strike. Give this card strike through. Would that be too good? Yeah, that would be, well. Honestly, Laser Beam at 6 cost 6/5 would probably actually be pretty good. Give this card strike through. This would actually see some play. That would be pretty good. Anyway, Tactical Cuke is a troll card. I mean, practically to run this competitively is a complete joke. This is very fun if you're trying to just troll opponents and make the game last until turn 25 because it completely obliterates the entire ground lane. The other things you use this with is like, you know, with Solar Flare, you can run this with Grapes of Wrath. We had fun doing that, but you know that you want to kill your own guy. So you cuke yourself. This is a very niche card. Every once in a while, they'll develop a strong card on turn 5. I'll see opponents on the Heights lane and then completely obliterate me with Tactical Cuke on turn 6. Maybe this is better than I give it credit for, but I'll put this in D tier because it's really a complete meme card and competitively you should never run it, but who knows? Maybe this is actually better. I'll put this in the category of, you know, I hope I'm stand corrected. Maybe Cuke really is. Maybe I have to change my mindset of developing things in Heights lane and then destroying the ground lane. Maybe there's a competitive Tactical Cuke deck. Oh, I have a few things to write down after this tier list. I should probably be keeping track of like Guardian Jack-o'-lantern, competitive Cuke. What was the other deck? The other card that I haven't found the use for. Oh yeah, and then it's gonna be Heartachoke. Astro Vera as a finisher there. I'm just writing these down so I don't forget them. We are almost done with the tier list here. We have 4 more cards. Threaded Chomper is a good card. It's 6 cost 6/6, a great stats, and then to turn it has a really good ability. So if they don't answer this not only is a huge stat card they're gonna have to deal with, but it has one of the most devastating passive abilities in the entire game. Obviously, it doesn't do anything on play, and it is a step down from Cobb Cannon, which is when play destroy something and do that field clear. So it can't really, Cobb Cannon can't, its ability can't be answered by hard removal. This as a 6 cost card, again, a rocket or a fruitcake will completely demolish this, obliterate this, or abolish. Abolish was the wrong word. And this will, and this won't work. But again, we have had a lot of success with Three-Headed Chomper. It's just kind of sad. This probably would be like way up here if it weren't for being outclassed by Cobb Cannon. It's a niche, very powerful card. We'll put it in, I'll put it in B because I think it really is a lot better than Laser Beam. It's a lot better than all the C tier cards here. I'll put it in B. Listen, every time we've run Three-Headed Chomper, it's popped off. This needs to kill one thing and all of a sudden it's a Cobb Cannon if they don't answer it. It's going in B. Toadstool is very understated. 6 cost 4/4. On turn 6, do you really want to remove something with only 4 attack? Maybe. If you can get, if you can eat a cowboy or something with this is insane stats. It's probably another card I underuse, but it's just, there's usually a better option on turn 6, like Cobb Cannon. Brainan obviously is much better than Toadstool. We run this in all-out ramp in order to be able to go from turns, when you have 6 on, you play this, and then all of a sudden on turn 7, you can play your Dragon or your Kernel Corn, whatever kind of all-out ramp deck you're doing. You should really do more all-out ramp. It's so much fun. I'll write that down as the last idea that we're getting from the tier list. All-out ramp with, like, Kernel Corn instead of Dragon. That's a pretty good idea. I will put this, it's very niche. It's very niche. I'll put it in C tier. It's about the same as these C tier cards. Astro Vera is, it's a good card. This is going to be very hard to know where to put. I think I'm going to put it in B tier because it's very powerful. This single-handedly will kill a lot of decks that have only do a certain amount of damage, especially like the crazy class that's relying on like Con Man and Final Mission to kind of chip away opponents. Once you heal for 10, it just puts their win condition way beyond reach. This can also cause a problem for like trickster decks that really like want to get opponents down to 12 and then do it's 12 health and then do 12 with like a teleport trickster or a monument trickster, and then all of a sudden having to deal 30 damage. It really puts out of reach of a lot of decks. I'm not going to say this is like the greatest finisher. If you just compare it to other 8-drops like Dragon Fruit and Kernel Corn, are usually much more impactful finishers. Astrovera doesn't help you win the game. It helps you not lose. Yeah, I think this is pretty deep. I mean, when you run this, you win. When you play, if you can get to this, you play it. It's really, really hard for opponents to kill you. I'll run it in B. And maybe we'll actually do the deck where we do just Artichoke, no Venus Flytrap Planet, and Astrovera. I'm actually looking forward to doing that. We'll probably do that this week. And the last card is Cornucopia. Cornucopia, back in set 1 was actually way better because even though there were fewer ramp cards, there were also fewer 1-drops. Every single set basically didn't add a lot of late-game cards. They added disproportionately a lot more early-game cards, which means Cornucopia is almost always summoning 4 lanes of trash. At 10 costs, it's just so expensive to run Cornucopia. Again, every once in a while, you get a Dragon Fruit or a Great Zucchini or a Brainana or other very strong cards. We have seen big Cornucopias. Cornucopia can create another Cornucopia, which means if one of the other minions that spawn with a team-up, second Cornucopia will make a second non-team-up minion in that lane. It's not a good finisher. It's actually not a good card. It looks so good, but it's usually just creating just a bunch of one or 2 drops around the field, which for 10 cost 6/6, it's pretty bad. You basically have to build an entire deck around this in order to be able to get to turn 10. You have to build a deck that is either ramping so hard or controlling so hard that basically the entire deck is built around Cornucopia, and then Cornucopia is not an effectual finisher in those decks. It's niche, but it can be okay. Every once in a while, Cornucopia pops off. We'll put it in C tier, and that'll be that. Anyway, guys, that was the solar tier list. Let me know civilly in the comment section below what you agree with and don't agree with. I've changed my opinion about a lot of cards in this. I'm sure I put Haunted Pumpkin in S tier last time, and again, I've sort of discovered how the card is, how important. I'm learning slowly after playing this game for, we're going on 8 years now? It's been 7 years, basically, since PvZ Heroes came out. Learning slowly how important card advantage is in this game, and how impactful bits of healing and card advantage and stuff like that are good in this game. Hope you guys enjoyed. That was the solar tier list. I will see you in the next One Piece. This is Fry. Hell yeah. This tier looks sucks. We need Bellsprout and S tier. Clearly, that's what it was missing. Fine. I'll put it in S tier. Just for you. No. No. I'm such a dick. Why am I such a douchebag these days? Why am I flaming random kids in the chat? I have a serious problem. La 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 la. Should there be like a highlight intro for this? I don't really do the memes anymore. We got the memes. Which one should be the highlight intro? I'm sleeping on Artichoke. Artichoke with what though? With Venus Flytrap Planet or with Astrovera? Teach me. I'm happy to learn. I'm still learning little things in this game every single day. Cow cannon. All right. Come in it is. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. It's 5:45. Oh, you know, a lot of stuff done today. Girlfriend reveal is on the OnlyFans. OnlyFans.com/fry 'em up. That is where the official girlfriend reveal has already taken place. It's a meme. Don't sign up. Guys, don't. Please don't. Please. I don't want any OnlyFans subscribers. Please, guys. If you want to support me on Patreon. Enough of it. It's just for a joke. It was just to make Sandwich happy. Sandwich donated $500 for me to make an OnlyFans. I didn't think anyone would do it. I only made that deal because I thought no one would donate for an OnlyFans, but what do you know? Cube is already on it. Bellflower S tier should be the YouTube picture. I already did that with Weenie Beanie, so maybe I'll think of something more original. Top 10 cards in the entire game. Maybe I'll do some lists. I think people do like lists. Fry, how tall are you? I'm 6 feet. No, I'm like exactly 6 feet tall. Like exactly. Did you get verified? Yeah, I did. It was such a pain to get verified there. But I'm a man of my word. I said I would make it, so I made it. Trust me, there's nothing there worth seeing. Don't sign up for OnlyFans, guys. All right, I'm gonna check your decks and get out of here. We're gonna keep it going here. Oh, what do? I download this. Solar download image. I think fan kit tier list 2023 save. I don't know why I'm. Oh wait. Doesn't even. Oh come on. There. I can quit this. And we can go. We can go to check your decks. Should have the border on the scene, shouldn't I? Probably should. I don't care. Add a GG. Most annoying tier list. Yeah. The only difficulty of that is I need to like compile. It would be so much work. I'd love to do the tier list, but I knew we need to compile all the cards. So I'd have to go through like 500 cards and pick the annoying ones out. I could do it, but it's just it's just so much work to set up that tier list because there's so many cards in this game. I feel like the top 10 cards would be just so obvious. There's going to be like Triceratops, Cobb Cannon, you know, Pepper MD. Right, it's almost Christmas. I'm planning to give you a game in Steam. Death Road to Canada. Thank you. I'm leaving Canada for the winter. I should make a zombie Riz tier list. Okay, guys, I gotta do this thing. Where's the deck? Let's. Why are we dicking around here? Here we go. We have 7 decks. Why? Oh, we have 6. First one is from Crimp LZ. We're about to see some editing. Oh, you didn't edit this one? I'm disappointed, Crimp. You're getting lazy in your old age, bro. Oh, yeah, okay. Wait till you see the deck, guys. It's a pinker. Heal and cuke. The banana split meta. Oh, you have to cuke your banana split, of course. It's not a good deck, guys. Don't listen to him. Next is Aaron, the Eagle. Ran out of actual decks. I'm showing a reworked version of Green Shadow's Winter Melon is coming strategy deck. So it's freeze with Banana Dragon. That is definitely the way to do freeze. You got all your freeze package. You're running Cucumber and Black IP. This ain't bad. I'm playing for it. I think this is a very, especially Green Shadow also has big chills, one of the superpowers. This could be one of the best freeze decks in the game. I love how you're running like Black IP, which is good against pass when these cards are all good against play. And then Cucumber will give you more steam. You might need a little bit more early game though. Maybe like only 2 plant foods and cut like, you know, like 1 or 2 chili peppers and then add in some more like just click peas. Seriously, 4 click peas instead of like 1, 2, and like 1 winter melon. Just to give yourself a chance of surviving against like super aggression when you're not always necessarily going to get this freeze combo in the early game. You might not have if you don't have any 1s or 2s and you're going against aggro, you just die. You're never going to catch up from there. Yo, the potato. He says probably unoptimized. It's an imitator Snapdragon deck. That's an interesting idea. Imitator Snapdragon. I like it. Imitator Jumping Beam. That's interesting. I like this idea. So I will write this down. It's Imitator Snapdragon. Jumping Bean? I'll put Jumping Bean as a question mark. Yo, the potato. I'll write down your name. Write down your name. Who Gunzy is next? Gunzy. It's called Ghost Grave. Dead Ghost. Sneezing and dog. In the grave. Let's like this with teleport more. You know what I want to do? I'm going to do... I don't know with Graveyard. I think with Immorticia I'm going to try this. It's going to be Immorticia. Control package with teleport ghosts. Maybe I'll even run live ghost in that deck. And sneezing into teleport. Or whatever. I won't run Trickster because there won't be enough tricks. I think the zombie version with either Zombot and then either like Mechasaur. You can also run Bounty Hunter in that deck. I think that's good. I think I really should try that same idea with Immorticia and teleports. This deck actually looks pretty good though. Because you're running mid with early game control package, Beastly Control, which is these 4 cards. Very good. Again, the Dead Ghost kind of just seems like you're forcing it into this. I think with teleports it would be better because the 2/1 can actually control like 2 cards at that point. They're usually not going to front it in graveyard, you know? Good. This is a good looking deck though for what you're trying to do. Cupe is next. Octo Monument. Okay. I mean, it's 8 damage. Like, even Kitchen Sink only does 6. It's 8. It's 8, guys. And then Monument also works with Trickster. Alright, here's the other one. It's gonna be cute. This is very cute, Cube. Control Immorticia with Monument Octo Zombie. Trickster? Maybe Trickster and maybe Trickster, and I'll put Kitchen Sink also as a Kitchen Sink? As a question mark. So we have a few more versions of Control Morticia. That would actually be the real Octopussy deck. In fact, what if we ran Leap? What if we ran Leap in this deck? Didn't we try to do that? We did have like it was a Leap deck. Like, what if you're just leaping Octo Zombie? What's the other 8 cost card? For Immorticia, there's not. It's just Plankwalker. That could be good, though. Maybe even Garg Launcher. Leaping it into Octo or into Plankwalker would be good. See, I don't think out here. Let me see if I can find the deck list for Octo Pussy. Octopus. Here's Octopussy 2. We still call it that. See, this is not a Control and Morticia deck. This is like Tempo Leap. And that's probably not the correct context. I think, guys, it is time to unleash Octopussy 3. And this is going to be the real one. Why don't we run the typical, with the Cryo Brains, with the Control, like this deck, with the Rocket Sciences, a proper Control Octopus deck. I think this is the deck we've been missing for 7 years in this game. Hell yeah. This is going to be good. All right, the last one is Steel Fist. Been coming to every stream lately. Submitting these deck ideas. Right? And they usually are running some real niche cards. Today it's going to be Ducky. Ducky is underrated, says Steel Fist. Ducky plus Monkey? Ducky plus Monkey? They're both pets, too, which is kind of interesting. Treat generator for Trickster. Not a lot of tricks in this deck, though, bro. Running Trick or Treater without very many tricks. And Paparazzi, man, I don't know. Having this first trick for you need exactly, you're running 3 teleports, which is your only really good trick to work in tandem with your Trick or Treater. Or a superpower, I guess. I think Octopussy with just 4 leaps as a finisher is going to be the thing. Because what, they're going to remove your Octo, you'll teleport it in if they remove it. You think about like teleporting in the late game cards that they keep on regenerating too. It could be that would actually be good even without the leaps. The Octopus, I'm back to the Octopussy, sorry for a second here. Like if they remove the first one, you still have your teleportation zombie on the field. So you just play it again. It could be that's just genius. You might not even need quite as many late game cards that way, too. Oh, if it was a pet deck, you could do this with Brain Freeze. Is there any way to do this with Brain Freeze? This does look more like a Brain Freeze deck. You're right, Yo-Yo. Also, there's not enough tricks for Trickster now. If you're going to go with these 3 trick cards, yeah, there has to be way more tricks. Is this good, though? Hold on. Give me a second. Ducky on 1. What about Ducky on 1, Swashbuckler on 2? Like, what if about running Ducky with Headstone Carver? I'd love if Ducky was good. Ducky's so sad, though. I wish Ducky was just a 2-1. I think 1 cost 2-1 Ducky would actually be a very decent card. But at 1-1, man... You know what? I'm not convinced. But you made a good argument.